I've never really been big on the Cosmos corner of Marvel, but leave it to Jonathan Hickman to bring me into that world. Before we get into this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It definitely helps me out, helps my channel out, and it is greatly appreciated, more than I can express, honestly. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this review. What can I say? Imperial #1, Jonathan Hickman and Federico Vincentini on the art. This book is a banger. It is a banger. Far exceeded my expectations. I was looking forward to this. I was already looking forward to this. But like I said, I have never really been into the Cosmos corner of Marvel, of the Marvel universe. I just I just never was really into it, I guess. So there was a slight bit of hesitation in terms of me not liking it going into this, but it was Jonathan Hickman. The name Jonathan Hickman. If it wasn't for his name on this, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, if I'm being 100% honest. So, because I have not been into the cosmic universe part of Marvel, I am not entirely familiar. So, there are things in this book that I might be unfamiliar with, I might overlook or just not get completely. But with that being said, though, I did not feel lost. I didn't feel lost. I mean, I felt like it was easy for me to grasp of what was going on, even though I was not really familiar with some of the characters and stuff. I mean, like the scrolls and characters like them and Nova. I have some familiarity with, but I don't have a full deep historical knowledge of them and things like that. If I'm being honest, but like I said, I feel like I'm going into this as a new reader in this part of the Marvel universe. Now, that being said, I would say that it's new reader friendly, honestly, because like I said, I didn't feel lost. So I recommend it on that end. Yeah, definitely. So one thing that Hickman does that's a little bit different in this book that I liked, surprisingly, was this book is actually broken down into like four different chapters, um, which is cool. And what I also like is the fact that, unlike a typical Hickman book, mostly like the X-Men and things like that he wrote, there's no data pages and all of that stuff, which I'm thankful for. If I'm being honest, because I wasn't really too big of a fan of those. Now, as far as the story goes, you start off the book with like one page or 2 pages right here, and then you flip the page and it's just that page, and then you start the chapter right here. So it's a mystery because you don't know who these two guys are talking to each other. But they're playing a game, and it's sort of like one's recruiting the other in a way. Um, and it just ends with the act, or the first act of the game is always the same. Someone has to die. So you know that's kind of like a preamble to everything, but you don't know who these two are. But what you do see is two sitting at the table, the game table right here. You know, don't know exactly what the game is. Then you get into chapter one. You know, the whole murder mystery behind everything. Um, Bruce Banner's son dies. So you have the Hulks. They're pissed. Bruce Banner. Hulk is trying to figure out what happened to his son because there's a series of murders happening, um, and nobody knows who's doing it. So that leads Hulk, She-Hulk, and Braun going back to Sakaar, which is Hulk's homeland, and it's been a while. Uh, and he has to prove that he's still around. Like, people need to remember him and who's the boss, right? Basically. So Hulk smashes, basically. Uh, yeah. So and in that whole process, he's trying to figure out who murdered his son. In the meantime, it's almost like a Viking style funeral for his son, and he's set on fire and everything. So then you get into chapter 2 of the book, and the Fulcrum City Station in the Galactic Hub. That's where this picks up. Now, Emperor Jason, uh, his daughter is not dead yet, but she's dying. She's dying at this point. Um, and it's mysteriously because well, not because, but it's mysteriously the same way that these other murders have taken place is through being poisoned. Um, and in the meantime, he has these doctors, or some kind of medics. I'm not sure exactly who they are, but they are under his regime, and so they're trying to find some sort of a cure, or as to why, who did this, and so on and so forth. Um, and in that process, while they're all there, that's when the Hulk and She-Hulk and they arrive, and they're meeting up, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. So in this process, Braun, Amadeus Cho, he goes off to find someone that could uh, help find out who's doing this, committing these murders and things like that. So of course, naturally, this is where Nova comes into the picture, because he finds him in a bar, just kind of like hanging out, and he's trying to talk him into joining them to help them solve this murder mystery, basically. Amadeus Cho is just trying to talk him into joining them, and Nova's like, no. I'll just go ahead and read this to you. Nova's like, let me guess. You want to offer me a job? Cho's like, yeah, I do. We need you. My father requested the best, and he's willing to foot the bill. So what do you say? Nova's like, God, no. So that throws him off. He's like, what, why? He said, I said no. And then he's like, why? So Nova, he pretty much explains to him, the thing is, sure, we know each other well enough and we kind of get along. But last time I checked, you're a criminal. Cho says, I said that was a misunderstanding. And your father is a power-hungry aristocrat, which is just a different kind of criminal. And more often than not, a good bit worse. So nothing personal, but your money's no good here. Then Cho says, well, I hate to hear that. This probably won't be the last time I disappoint my father, but if you were to change your mind, the offer still stands. So that kind of just one more page, and then it goes into chapter 3, poison the water, poison the well. And then this chapter starts off with Emperor Jason speaking to everybody now that everybody has arrived, and he's basically dropping the bomb that they kind of figured through his scientists, or they figured out who was doing the poisoning. And he just basically calls everybody out right there. It was one of you here. So, yeah. And everybody's like kind of shocked, right? Like shocked, like, wait, what? Huh? But he points out the scrolls, and they're like, no, wait, what? You're accusing us? This is not going to be acceptable. Basically, is how they're coming across in my eyes. So they're getting a little testy, and so they're everybody's rooting for them to be arrested and this kind of this, that, and the other. But then you flip the page, and it's all about to go down. Like this is where it starts to really amp up, chapter 3. So everything's starting about to go down, and then I don't know his name. I'm not familiar with him, but he admits, this guy right here, he admits that it was them from the scrolls of the Kree. And everybody else is like shocked, but he says the Kree Skull Ministry of Science was contracted to create a compound toxin, so we did. So this is what we do: make weapons of war. But we did not use it. We simply delivered it. So Emperor Jason says, to who? The Hulk follows up kind of angrily. He says, yes, to who? And that same guy says, other parties of the council, but we, right here, and he didn't get to finish what he was saying because you flip the page and he's taking a bullet to the head. So he's not talking anymore. And then everything goes haywire, as you can see, because now there are shots being fired and it's just chaos. It's just chaos. So it looks like Emperor Jason, is shot right here. Yeah, right here. So, yeah, and then you got Hulk just smashing. And then you flip the page, and then you see the Wakandan. Because, just to backtrack a little bit, the Wakandans were the only group that chose not to show up for this council meeting. And, yeah, it was really interesting. And it's just all battle going on. They finally start to regroup a little bit, and they're looking for survivors, because the Wakandan, he just drops this like bomb type thing, and everything goes like out, and so they're kind of like floating around in the out in space. So yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but that's where chapter 3 ends, and then chapter 4 starts with pretty much everybody kind of regrouping, going over the injured and the dead, because they say that there are 12 are dead, 3 more heads of state, and more than twice that number missing. Rescue droids are combing the area outside the station, but as you know, Peter Quill, space is vast and the vacuum always harsh. So there was some damage done by this apparent Wakandan. You flip the page and Nova shows up because he heard about what was going on, and he decided after all that he was going to help. So yeah, and then it pretty much ends, because it ends with Hulk saying war. So I can only imagine how issue 2 is going to be. My thought on the story is that it's amazing. It's amazing. I was trying to be vague because I don't want to give too many spoilers, even though I did give some spoilers. But yeah, the story is awesome. The lead up, the build up, it felt like a cinematic style, if that makes sense, because just the way the things built up, you got the chapters and the way scenes kind of switch. It was nice. I liked it. The pace of it, the pace of the book is good. And the way that it leaves off with Hulk just saying war is pretty much the only solution, because that version of Hulk, Bruce Banner, that's what they're about. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun three more issues to follow, and then I seen that in next year, when next year I forget, February maybe, is when the trade is going to come out that collects all of the other one shots and stuff that it's supposed to be going with this. I'm only collecting just these four issues right now, but then when that comes out, I'm going to probably read everything, you know, in its entirety for this, because yeah, it's pretty amazing. Well, that is my review for Imperial #1. Um, I'm trying to do better at these reviews. I'm hoping I'm getting improving, and I hope you stuck around this long, because I would really like to know what you thought about this book if you've read it. And yeah, man, I definitely recommend. Like I said, even from a new reader perspective, because I'm not familiar with the entire cosmic universe of Marvel. So I'm a little bit unfamiliar with a lot of the characters actually, but I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the premise of the story, the murder mystery. Like, yeah, Hulk just like he was he this version of Hulk, man, I like it, and I think it was Donny Cates, like Planet Hulk, was it? His run was this version of Hulk, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to read it, man. I want to read it. I've always heard good things about that run. Now this just might convince me to actually go read it. So anyway, man, let me know what you thought about this book. I really am curious because I enjoyed it a lot, more than I expected. I would give it, so 4.5 out of 5 stars. Very solid. Uh, definitely recommend. Definitely recommend. So please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.